So how about those movies this summer, eh? Okay, how many have seen the Barbie movie? Okay, good. How many have seen Oppenheimer? Okay, how many have seen both? Oh, good. Somebody at the back, too. We saw both just the other weekend. Barbie on Saturday, Oppenheimer on Sunday afternoon. Theaters were packed. It's really quite amazing. It's interesting, isn't it, eh? Through this long, hot summer, post-pandemic, all across North America, people are back in, I used to review films, I used to call it the Valley of the Popcorn Munchers, right? And the big screens, the big screens. We've left, so many of us have left the comfort of our cocoons and our streaming services and watched what this summer? A feminist fable about a doll and a searching indictment of what President Dwight Eisenhower called the military-industrial complex. Now, I've been fascinated with the popularity of these movies. The Barbie movie alone has already grossed over $1 billion in box office alone. And Oppenheimer isn't too far behind at $650 million. Story of a doll, story of the so-called father of the atomic bomb, telling the story of the development of the bomb, the first explosion, and then a few days after they exploded in the desert in New Mexico, dropped the bomb on Hiroshima, and then a few days later, Nagasaki. August 6th, 1945, just for lots of us, a few years ago now. So what do you think? Why do you think people are back at the movie theaters these days? What's going on in our culture that's drawn people back in for these two films particularly? Or, as God said to Elijah at the cave, what are you doing here? So the enormous popularity of these two wildly different movies is because I think, here's my thesis, I think people largely are dissatisfied with their lives and the world where we're living right now. There were hopes. Lots of us sort of grew up in the 60s and 70s. There were great hopes for more gender equality and for an era of peace without the threat of the nuclear war. But we live in a time, as the Barbie movie shows, where gender equality is still something to be desired, not yet achieved. And lots of us have grown up and continue to live under the threat of the mushroom cloud, particularly with the war in Ukraine right now. And of course, there's continuing anxiety about climate change, devastatingly made real by the recent fires on Maui. We vacation in Maui. We've been to Lahaina numerous times. It's been absolutely heartbreaking to see all of that. So what are we doing back at the cinema? It's kind of like we've gone into a cave. Isn't a movie theater kind of like a cave? It's dark. It's a darkened space, kind of like Elijah, seeking to discern the voice of God. Rabbi Laura Duhan Kaplan, Kathy's mentor at VST, fabulous person. She's written a really smart article about the Barbie movie where she notices the deep philosophical and spiritual themes that pervade this film. It's not just a kid's movie, it's actually a grown-up movie, and there's lots in it. She writes, neither the Barbies nor the Kens were taught how to be authentic people. They know only social roles and routines, kind of like many of us in the real world. You've lived it, and then a crisis calls you to do more, to be more. Sometimes we feel that call, a deep yearning. I think Rabbi Laura's getting at the appeal of Barbie. It points to the intersecting crises of our time, each of them potentially calling us, as she says, to do more and be more. But being and doing grows only out of our authentic selves. And in this time, which I think is devoid of deep spirituality, being authentic, living out of your deepest and truest reality is a challenge.